Actually stands for SAPA and RAP Educators Emphasizing Total Wellness. Obviously there's no W at the end of SWEET, so we kind of dropped that off, but it was a way for us to bring the previous clubs that had worked kind of in silos together into one more holistic group and still honor kind of all of their titles and names. That was about 3 years ago, so I don't think a lot of people know that, and we certainly don't advertise it, but it was still a way to kind of preserve their work and what they've done. I think that's the challenge now, is that like there's so much that can fit under the Sweet Life umbrella that we tend to get overwhelmed. Like it's like, what do we need to focus on right now? So now we're kind of going the opposite way of like, now there's just so much that could be related to health and wellness. What are the topics that really need to be focused on, or what are we missing? But I think it's always going to be stigmatized until like our entire culture, like, you know, not just the college culture, but our American culture starts to treat it the same way we treat physical illness. And we're a long way out. You know, there's a lot of really recent things that are bringing it to light. And I think the other part is that mental illness can be really dangerous if you approach it the wrong way. And we're stressed that people are spread thin, and it takes time and it takes energy, and you know, that's something I would say even expands out into our community, right? Like this idea of wearing several hats. You know, not only you go out and talk to so many community members and to create change in Gunnison, you not only have to be a professional and a parent, but you need to volunteer your time for something, or you need to put energy into a place or a project that you believe in, right? Because there's only so many of us, and if we want to create change, we've got to do it. So I think that's one of the challenges of a small place, is that to create massive amounts of change, it takes manpower, and there's only so many of us. So
who does breakfast for a buck? And then I figured out it was Sweet Life, and of course I always stole their chapsticks and stuff, but I never knew who they were. And then like this year, like I kind of investigated more, because I was like, I wonder what they're really about. And then like I talked to some people like Morgan Milmore, and she's like, it's a really, really great like group, you should try to join it. So I did, and I was like, this will be really good as like being an RA. That was my first intentions, is like this will really go over well, because I have freshmen and they need to learn how to like live properly in college and be happy and healthy. And
I want to make a change in my life. Either way, I think it's really rewarding to be able to say, you know, yeah, that's great. You know, we have the resources to kind of help you get going with that, and it's just a really rewarding experience to see people, you know, overcome their struggles.
A lot of times people just don't realize, or they just don't know, and so that's like, I love seeing the light bulbs go off in people's minds of like what it means to them, and they're like, oh, awesome, I'm gonna take that off now and go tell other people, and it just spreads like wildfire, and it's a good way. So we have a couple of flyers in the res halls, because I know at least over in the freshman halls we put them up, so I know there's a couple of flyers. We also do Wellness Wednesdays.
Right. Yeah. So Wellness Wednesday it's kind of been my surrogate child for the last year and a half. Wellness Wednesday, we set up a table that's sort of like a club fair table, but it's upstairs outside the rack during dinner time on Wednesdays. And we usually just advocate for different aspects of health and wellness depending on what's going on. During February, we're talking about contraception and consent and stuff like that. And in March, we're talking more about spring break stuff, how to stay safe during spring break and stuff like that. And that's also used as a recruitment opportunity, but it's tabling, we've found long term is not quite as effective as overall club fairs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, it is a resume builder, and it's a very rewarding thing. But as far as college experience go, it's taught me how, it's just the overarching practicality of it, understanding that wellness is important and that it's okay to be stressed out, but there's also healthy ways to deal with that stress, and knowing how to do that and knowing how to help your friends that are needing the help, and whenever that time comes, that's what makes it worth doing. It's working hard at the work that's worth doing, and rather than worrying about what you're going to get out of it.
Is with you for the rest of your life of how to live that life, the life you want to be the best you. I think that's super, super important about this group.
We're still in a growing process. We can be so much more than what we are, but I don't think we're at the place to utilize that full potential yet.
Yeah.
We're still very small. We have about 8 active peer educators. And so, and I know that just to talk to you about this, we have 8 very active peer educators, very active with college in general. And so because of that, you know, our time is limited with them, and that kind of decreases the amount of time we can use to utilize them as certified peer educators. My hope is that as time goes on, we will begin to increase in active numbers to the point that we might be able to have have Sweet Life kind of detached from the lead office and become its own separate department. But that's a long-term kind of goal, and it is stigmatized. It is. It's not something that, and that's one of the main reasons I got involved with Sweet Life in the first place, was because I grew up I grew up in the Midwest, and I had never learned how to process stress, process anxiety, until I finally, you know, it got bad enough that I actually sought out help. And once I sought out help, I realized, you know, oh wow, you know, it's okay to be stressed out, but there are better ways to deal with it than just to bottle it up. And that's one reason why I became a part of Sweet Life, is because a lot of people don't have that information, and we're trying to break down those stigmas against asking for help, because asking for help doesn't make you a weak person. It doesn't mean that something is wrong with you, and that's what we're trying to do.